Michigan may not have gotten any of the explosive fireworks that you hoped on National Signing Day. 2 commitments, but still, it was a very good day for the Wolverines as they sign all but 2 of their commits, including one, Mr. Bryce Underwood, and a whole bevy of others, Elijah Dotson, Shamari Earls. We're going to talk about what recruits I love. We're going to hear from Chiron more. We're going to do it all on this episode on Locked On Wolverines.
You are Locked On Wolverines, your daily podcast on the Michigan Wolverines, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Happy Wednesday, happy early signing day. Locked On Wolverines podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. I am your man on the ground, Isaiah Hole, publisher of Wolverines Wire through USA Today Sports Media Group, doing a very late podcast today. Kind of like we used to do, but we don't do anymore. But that's just because I was your man on the ground, both in Ann Arbor as well as at Belleville. I wish I could give you some good Bryce Underwood video here in audio, but I don't have the audio because the audio was terrible that I got. I don't know what the deal was, but it was just very loud in there, and I had to get audio from someone else that was closer to Bryce. Nonetheless, we're going to talk about Bryce Underwood. You're going to hear Chiron more, what he had to say about Bryce Underwood, some other things that were going on. But let's start with the fact that there was not any big fireworks. There were, that wasn't. You didn't see any of those receivers, Derek Meadows, Jerome Miles. Actually, like all those guys that like I have pre-writes for because other people were, had intel that I didn't have. Now Meadows, I had intel that he was coming, like he was going to be a part of the flip. And then it didn't really work out that way. Weirdly have a connection there. Started kind of getting some pessimism about a week and a half ago, right? Just a couple days after Bryce committed. But like some of the other guys like Bradley Gompers, Alex Graham, some of those guys obviously just ended up elsewhere. Gompers stayed with Duke. Alex Graham went to USC. And then you look at some of the others that people were looking at. Isaiah Gibson stayed, despite a really masterful troll job, ended up sticking with Georgia. Grayson Littleton ended up sticking with Texas, though I think that they were trying to make some moves there. DJ Pickett ends up weirdly sticking with LSU. So, I mean, like a lot of those targets ended up either staying or just not coming to Michigan, right? Which is fine. Jakeem Stewart goes to USC as well. I was hoping for that surprise name, right? Because Michigan was certainly trying to be very aggressive. So it's kind of surprising that the Wolverines only got 4 commits after Bryce Underwood. But nonetheless, they managed to still get 2 commits, right? Travis Moten, who I am increasingly high on, and Nathaniel Owusu-Boateng, who I've been high on for the whole time, right? Like he's just absolutely a phenomenal player. 5-star according to Rivals. I don't know how much we trust. I like the Maize and Blue review, Josh Henschke's vertical on Rivals. I am not a fan of their rankings overall. I don't think a lot of people are going to argue with that unless it works out for Michigan and they have a 5-star, right? Other guys that went elsewhere, JVN Hilson, mostly because Nate Marshall, we didn't talk about him yesterday. He ends up committing back too as well. So Jordan Young, Nate Marshall, and then the 2 today were the 4. But they didn't necessarily need that edge rusher after that, right? So Javian Hilson goes to Mizzou. Javen Boggs, who I've heard different things on like Michigan's level of interest there. He ends up, where did he even end up? I don't remember. He didn't end up going to Michigan though. He flipped from UCF somewhere else. But so they only stuck with the 3 receivers. And obviously they're going to hit the portal and they're going to do certain things. And we'll talk about Kirk Campbell a little bit at the very tail end of this show. We didn't do an emergency podcast yesterday because we're just inundated trying to, get ready for today. But it was obviously still a very, very good class. I forgot to look up here. Actually, I have it here. Let me see if I learn how to use my second screen adequately. So at the moment, Michigan is number 7 in the country. If the Wolverines are able to get some late signees, Ty Haywood, if they go after Zahir Mathis, if there's any other names of uncommitted players or players that just aren't signing in this period, I would be curious to see how that kind of works out for the Wolverines. And if they move up to like say 5, right? I think that they have a chance, but I mean, still number 7. It's one of the best classes Michigan has ever signed, potentially the best, even though like it's not like they were higher in 2025. I'm going to look this up real quick just to kind of tell you where they are. Again, the class I don't think is necessarily done. I think Haywood ends up in it. Michigan's got 2 5-stars, 15 4-stars, 6 3-stars. Overall ranking of 287.87. They are less than 2 points behind Auburn, and they are 10 points behind Ohio State at number 5. So Ohio State also has 2 5-stars, but they've got 20 4-stars. They've just got a lot more. They've got 3 more commits. A lot more. It doesn't mean a lot. But you look at 2017, that was Michigan's best class by ranking. Like I said, 287 or whatever. So they were at 296.03. So technically a bit higher, but they had 30 commits in that class. So it's a little bit different. So that's just kind of what I wanted to tell you as a by like average, like the weight 91.20 in 2017 compared to 92.26. It's a much higher end class here. So there's a lot to really like about it. And there's a lot of players that I'm just really, really high on. One that I am weirdly excited about is the lowest rated player in the entire class, and that's Travis Moten. Actually, I guess technically he's the second lowest at 24/7 on their proprietary rankings, but a 3-star. He's only about, like, it's just amazing when I look at this list. You go from the bottom up. Jasper Parker is way underrated as a running back. Like, this dude is going to be an absolute beast, and you are going to love him. And he's a high quality guy, like high character kid. And I know that they absolutely are enamored with him. And he just had a beast of a senior season. Like, he should be like a guy that people are like, okay, I cannot wait to see that guy get the ball in his hands. Like, he is going to far outperform his ranking. I'm just gonna tell you that right now. Like, I think you're gonna see him see the field relatively early and often. I know Donovan Johnson was kind of the one that people were looking at because he was borderline 5-star before he got injured. Jasper Parker is the real deal. But Travis Moten, he's 6'5", like he's kind of like about, I think Chiron said 290. He's listed at 250 here. But Chiron says 290, says he could be inside. Here's what I learned today that I didn't know. He's got a little bit of a wrestling background. That's got to get you a little excited given the Mason Graham of it all. He's a behemoth. Like, there were other defensive linemen that they certainly liked that they could have pushed for. I mean, more edge rusher types like Javion Hilson, like Toby Hastrup, some of those types of players. But, like, they took the guy that was more lower rated. And Chiron says, and I want to tell you what he said. Did I ask him about Travis Moten, or did someone else ask him about Travis Moten? I don't even remember. I don't think I did. Maybe I did. Don't know. Today is a blur. When you write 30-something articles, I mean, I wrote them yesterday, but you post them, it's just a lot. It's just an absolute lot. Let's see. Moten, okay. Oh, yeah, I did ask him about Travis Moten. I asked him about Nate Marshall and Travis Moten. So he said, Moten, man, he's a big, tall, athletic dude. I think he led the state of Kentucky in sacks. I think it was like 20. So he's a super athletic dude, raw dude, but he's huge. He's taller than me. So all 6'5", maybe 6'6", 290 pounds, quick, twitchy. So those are the types of guys you want, and not a lot of publicity. Again, our recruiting staff did a really good job discovering him. I think that like, you should be really excited about what he brings to the table. But we got a lot more to get to. We want to hear from Chiron. So we'll have him talk about Bryce Underwood. Obviously, he is the headliner of this class, and rightfully so. And I'll also discuss a little bit about what it was like to be at his signing event. Again, I have video, but it's incomprehensible, so it's not really worth sharing here. So we will get to that here in just a moment. But before we do, hate the team you drafted in a season-long fantasy but want to stay in the action? Introducing Better Together, the first cooperative daily fantasy platform where teamwork triumphs talent. And you can play with your friends, not against them. Pick more or less on real-time player stats. Strategize with your partner to boost your odds and climb the leaderboard together. So grab a friend and join the social daily fantasy movement at Better Together. Better Together is the first cooperative daily fantasy application. It provides a sense of camaraderie and it enhances the social experience of watching sports, makes you realize that daily fantasy sports is fun alone, but like a lot of other things, it's better with friends. It is a way to stay connected with your friends when you can't watch sports together in person, and it puts your group chat to the test to let you prove that yours is the best. All right, so download Better Together now from the App Store and sign up using promo code LOCKEDON for a chance to play in a contest with or against me because winning alone is fun, but it is better together. All right, we got a lot to get to. I didn't feel like we really got to much of anything in segment one. So let's get to Bryce Underwood straight away. Let's hear what Chiron more. You can talk about Bryce for the first time. I'm assuming Bryce sent him his letter of intent, or Chiron was just like, whatever, I'm just going to talk about him, right? Because we didn't see him sign until like 5:30, and Chiron talked at 3:30. So I'm not trying to say there's an NCAA violation. I'm just saying, like, I don't know why I'm just saying. All right, so let's get to Chiron. Here's some of the things I thought were pertinent that he had to say about Bryce Underwood.
How game-changing is landing a quarterback like Bryce Underwood?
It's huge. He's an excellent player. Obviously, he has a great skill set, elite skill set, from the pocket, out of the pocket, deep ball, touch, intermediate, short. He's talked to me about different things we want to do with him to expand his game, and we'll do that. And but exceptional leader, and he loves the game. He loves the grind. He loves to get better. The first question he asked me is like, Coach, how late is the indoor open? How late can I be in the building? Late as you want, buddy. So excited, very excited to get him here and get to work.
I think a lot of people on the outside look at maybe the investment you guys made in him and think maybe he should start day one. Do you subscribe to that?
Yeah, we're going to work. That's all we're going to do. And he wants to earn everything. He doesn't want to be given anything. So we're going to work.
With bowl practices, the early schedule.
Yeah, he'll be here as fast. He wants to be here as fast as he can, so he can be here. I think in the next week, and start to do stuff. He just can't practice and do stuff with the team yet. So we'll do as much as we can from a compliance standpoint with him.
Yeah, only two. But as far as what is your concern level or plan, I guess, for managing the hype with Bryce? I mean, he's already generating a lot of points, a lot of buzz. He's never even been on college yet.
Yeah, I think for him, it's about the work and continue to, start over. The process of how you got to where you got to, you worked to get there. It didn't just happen. So for him, he's going to have to work. He's going to have to put the work in, day out. And I think his mentality, I think his family, how he's been brought up, I think that's going to play a huge role into it and who he is. And there's not going to be a humbling session because the kid is very humble. Like, the kid wants to be good, and the kid knows it takes work to be good. It's not just going to happen. So he wants to be pushed, and he will be.
All right, so number one, I forgot to mention before, that clicking sound, which I couldn't get rid of, by the way. I know that was distracting. That I'm pretty sure that because I had a wireless microphone on the podium, so I'm thinking Chiron was like hitting the podium and it was knocking next to like someone's phone or something like that. So my apologies for that. The distracting. I can attest that Bryce, he comes across as very humble, right? Like, even though he's kind of got that superstar quality, he also has like just this hearing from him today, from what little I could hear from far away, holding a boomstick with my camera way above him. Like, I had it extended almost fully. He's got a humility. He wants to work. It's not about like I'm a 5-star man, I'm the number one guy in the country. I mean, you heard Chiron say about how he wants to know how late the indoor is open, right? Like, that is also like Connor Stallions has attested to me. Like, he's got this work ethic. Like, he's just like insatiable with his thirst for football. And it's relatively new to him too, right? Like, that's the kind of amazing thing. So, but like, just you get that sense because he asked about the competition of potentially Michigan bringing in a transfer. Because like, okay, so I'm on the Wolverines Wire Facebook page. I posted this thing about Miller Moss being, potentially interested in Michigan. And I see someone on there that's just like, oh no, Bryce is going to transfer. Like, no. And like, you see like people just have that mindset. No, Bryce does not have that mindset. He, number one, knows that they're going to bring in a transfer almost certainly. And it's going to be someone who's a veteran. And Bryce might not start right away, right? Like, he's aware of this, but he looks at it as this is my opportunity to go in and earn the job. He wants to earn the job. He wants to get better. He's not coming in thinking that he is like this absolutely incredible guy. Like, he knows he's got talent, and obviously, when you're getting paid like an NFL player in college, then certainly that. But he's going into this understanding that like, I don't know everything. I need to be coached. I need to learn football. I need to learn how to read a defense. There's certain things like he's talked about his feet and just, learning how to use his feet correctly and everything and adequately. And there's so much that he wants to learn. And also there's a humility too, because he could absolutely say like, this is the type of offensive coordinator that I want to have. And we asked Bryce about it and he's like, I'm going to leave that whole thing to Chiron Moore. He knows best, right? Like he absolutely could be like, I've seen recruits that are much less than Bryce have demands and he isn't coming in here with, at least not vocal demands, right? He's coming in with this idea of, I just want to get better. And, obviously NIL played a big part of this, but he's also talked about the importance of the University of Michigan, the resources, the education, all of the things that Michigan offers. So that's a really good thing. It's like, this is a guy that gets where he's going and understands where he's going and understands what he can get out of it outside of the obvious financial part. And then you've got Chiron Moore, who is looking forward to just, getting him all kind of, coached up and all of that stuff. Now, that said, let's talk about the offensive coordinator situation briefly, and then we'll get back to recruits in segment 3, because obviously Michigan fired Kirk Campbell yesterday. I was sad to not see him demoted, especially because I just started talking to him. Dang it. Anyway, I never want to see a guy lose his job, and you want to see them succeed, so it's sad. But it was necessary. I completely understand that, right? Like I've been the one banging the drum about the offense. I mean, everyone has. I'm not new. I'm not the only one. But I've been banging the drum about the offense going back to week 1. So when it just was kind of scary and I didn't know what he was doing, and I don't know that he knew what he was doing, and that was a problem. That said, I mean, there are certainly names that are being bandied about. Obviously, we talked about Dan Mullen on this show after it kind of got out. I've mentioned Byron Leftwich. I know that's one that was at least somewhat bandied about a month ago. I haven't heard much from anyone about that. Now, I don't have my ear to the ground with this beyond what I had kind of heard a month ago. I'm not going to pretend to tell you or pretend to know something and tell you as if I'm like, I will tell you when I have inside information, and I will tell you when I don't. Here's where I don't. I do know that a common denominator name, 2 of them are Joe Craddock, the Tulane offensive coordinator, who would, if not Mullen, that would be my choice personally. He's 39 years old. He has multiple years experience of being an offensive coordinator. Not all has been good, but some has clearly been a learning experience. He's a pro style guy. And he wants to basically form that based off the talent he has. He's not married to scheme in the pro style. He's married to players, right? So he is trying to make sure that he has the best thing for his players so they can go out and succeed. That's what I want. His offenses have been excellent. And he's been in the Power 4, Power 5 a few times. He started as a development assistant at Clemson when Deshaun Watson was there. He moved up, followed Chad Morris to SMU in Arkansas. Didn't go that great at Arkansas. Ends up at UAB as a tight ends coach before going to Troy as offensive coordinator for a couple years, and then just this last year, Tulane. So that would be my 1B to Dan Mullen's 1A. And then I see Jason Candle kind of bandied about, and I'm not as big into that as others might be. That's just where I'm at. And I'm curious to see if like some of those other guys, like, if the UNLV offensive coordinator, or like, do they reach out to Brian Greasy? He was on my list. Garrett Riley is one I would look at. He was on my list. I'm sure you could pry him away from Clemson. But there's others I can't remember that I've seen that are just kind of a common denominator ones. But I would say like Mullen or Craddock would be the ones that Mullen was one that was pitched, right, I believe, to Bryce based off of conversations that I've had. Will it be him? Could they get that done? Could it end up being Craddock, or could it be Candle? I feel like it's probably going to be one of those 3, but certainly there's others in the field. But I think that they're going to, Chiron, the way he talked about the offense is like, we aren't just going to be like this massive passing team. We're going to throw and we're going to run, right? We're going to do both. But I would imagine they're going to throw more than they did with JJ McCarthy. It would just be a dereliction of duty if they don't. So they have to. All right, let's get to some more notes I have on all the recruits. I'm going to talk about the ones that give you a little note, I think, on pretty much each. I think that's probably the best way to go. We'll just go down the list. So we'll do that here in just a moment. But before we do, get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. So visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. So that's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch. Why was my so staccato? Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. All right, let's do a little bit of a blitzkrieg. Michigan signed all but 2 of its commits. Andrew Olesh making his decision. That doesn't feel good, especially with Lincoln Cure staying with Kansas State instead of flipping to Oregon. He's going to make his decision between Michigan, Oregon, and Penn State. If you read the tea leaves, it sounds like Andrew wants Michigan and maybe some parental units don't. Okay. So let's go down the list. Oh, sorry, I forgot. Jaden Sanders is signing tomorrow. There's no worry there. He's just signing tomorrow. All right, let's go down the list and say a little bit of an outlook on each guy. I'm kind of surprised. I was the first person to ask Chiron more about Andrew Babalola, the other 5-star in the class, and I came at like minute 20 of his press conference. But basically, the sky's the limit for this guy. He's relatively new to football. But the thing is he's incredibly intelligent. He's got the size already. And honestly, like it wouldn't surprise me if he got in the mix in year 1, but usually don't expect that from an offensive freshman, offensive tackle rather. Shamari Earls, I think absolutely could see the field in year 1. Could be your Will Johnson replacement. Will he start in week 1 or will he start down the line? I think that's kind of more, Will Johnson didn't start until the Rutgers game when he kind of had to. So, but he's going to be an absolute beast. He's got speed, he's got size, he's got everything that you want. He's just the freaky combo, and you love to see it. Andrew Marsh, I would be shocked, the wide receiver, if we don't see him in year 1. Best Michigan wide receiver recruit since Donovan Peoples-Jones and Oliver Martin, actually. And he's 6'1", 175, but he plays a little bit bigger. He's got the speed and all of that stuff. Excited to see what he does, and I think that he absolutely has got to be a year 1 guy. I think he will be, and I think he'll be great kind of straight away. Kind of makes up for not getting a Xavier Worthy into a uniform, because Xavier Worthy was signed, just didn't get into a uniform. Nathaniel Marshall ends up flipping back from Auburn. Welcome home, prodigal son. Was Chiron's first commit as the head coach. I think he's the type of guy that's probably going to be more of an outside guy. Played tight end as well in high school. Definitely has like that speed power combo that you look for as an edge rusher, but maybe he bulks up and goes into the middle as well. That's the great thing, is they can kind of figure that out later. Elijah Dotson, constantly kind of overlooked by his teammate, but is a multi-year starter in the making. He is listed as a safety. Chiron was very clear he's a safety. Dotson, Chiron says Dotson has lobbied to play wide receiver, and Chiron has kind of waved that off. But I look at him as being a steady, dependable type of safety, kind of in the vein of good Makari Page. We talked about that before. Kanoa Winston from Gonzaga College, Washington, D.C., same high school as Evan Link. I think he's your hard-hitting safety. He's the guy, like he's a Brandon Hillman, but I think he's got more tools than Brandon Hillman. I think that he's going to be the type of guy that people are just absolutely enamored with. And I think he is who's the one that I think he is going to be kind of what people thought Jordan Morant was going to be. That's what I'm going to say. Nathaniel Owusu-Boateng, arguably the top defensive player on the board, regardless of position, as long as they were on defense. Like I said, 5-star on Rivals, 4-star on everywhere else, except for he was a 3-star somewhere, which is like, I don't understand. Nonetheless, he is a smart guy. He is the Michigan character type guy all of the way. I think that he is going to be a fan favorite immediately. He wants to play early and certainly has machinations on that, but I think it will be more of a year 2 thing. And I think he's going to be the type of player that I think he's going to have a Junior Colson style impact. I'll put it that way. Avery Gash, in-state offensive, it says offensive tackle here. He's more of an interior guy. He's put on some weight this year as a senior year, and he's an absolute mauler in the run game. Excited to see what the in-state guy from Groves High School out there in Birmingham, what he is able to do. Jordan Young, already hilarious because he said he left Clemson because they don't have, he was the only DB committed. And he said they didn't really like their class, so he flipped. I don't know much about him as a player, so that's where we're going to stay. I don't have much to say about Bobby Kenka. He's stuck, in-state guy, stuck with the class. MSU wanted him. That's great. Jacob Washington, 3-star to some, 4-star to others. Absolutely rose up the rankings. Same high school as Jasper Parker. 6'3", 6'4", 180s. Brings size. I think maybe could work his way in late in year 1, maybe year 2. That would be what I'd look at. I don't know a lot about Julius Holly, but Alfred of Georgia has had a Georgia offer, if I'm not mistaken, ends up at Michigan. You love that. Okay. Benny Patterson rose up the ranks heavily not too long after he flipped from Cincinnati to Michigan. He's going to probably be a little bit more of an inside guy, I believe. I think that he's just starting to kind of he's a top 100 guy according to one of the services, so that's exciting. Chase Taylor, linebacker from Georgia. 3-star type guy, but I think he's a consensus 3-star. Michigan looks at him as being like a high 4-star. Like talking to some of the people inside the building, they were just like, he's an absolute take. We absolutely want him. We think he's going to be absolutely phenomenal. Like they wanted him and Owusu-Boateng, and they got both of them. Jamar Browder, 6'4" guy, kind of under scouted according to Chiron Moore. Certainly has a lot of talent. If you watch his film, he absolutely looks the part. So I think the question is kind of how is he going to fit in with the Michigan culture coming from South Florida? Okay, that would be kind of the thing I would look at there. Caden Strayhorn, son of Jason Strayhorn, the MSU radio color commentator. That's going to make for some really interesting Octobers for a couple years. How does Jason Strayhorn recuse himself? Who's he rooting for on the MSU broadcast? Going to be interesting to see. But center of the future for Michigan, I think he's going to play a lot higher than his ranking. I think he's going to be a multi-year starter at center. He plays down at IMG Academy. Obviously, that's just the all-star school, but he is an absolute beast. He kind of fell down the rankings, not really sure why, but I think he's going to be phenomenal. He has his teammate Donovan Johnson, also at IMG Academy, running back. Would have probably been a 5-star if he didn't tear his ACL in his junior year. Has everything you need in terms of speed, power, all that kind of stuff. He's 6', 205 already, healthy now. I think that that's going to be a nice 1-2 punch with Donovan Johnson and Jasper Parker. Eli Owens is a tight end, kind of in the same vein as Max Bredesen. Chiron Moore says that he's already planning on as an early enrollee. By the way, they have 16 of the 22 are early enrollees. He's going to already planning on coming in and shadowing Max Bredesen. So that's already just great news. But Anthony Broom, friend and colleague, tweeted that he thinks he's going to be a fan favorite. I don't doubt it. We already talked about Travis Moten and Jasper Parker. So there's the two out there, Jaden Sanders and Andrew Olesh. We'll get to them later, I guess. Both highly rated. And Jaden's a pure corner, and Andrew is a game-changing tight end. If Michigan can afford to lose a position, it's probably tight end. But you still want the high-end guys if you can get them. Amazing class. I can't wait to see if they add Ty Haywood. I believe they will. And if is Zahir Mathis, the Ohio State edge that decommitted, could they get him into the fold? Or is there anyone else out there that's uncommitted that Michigan is going to try to go after? I don't know. But it's going to be exciting to see how this closes out mixed with the transfer portal. And see just kind of how it plays out. But kudos to Michigan. You should feel really excited if you're a Michigan fan. The future is bright. I would like to see more people on the defensive line. Getting Nate Marshall back in the fold certainly makes you feel a lot better about it than I did earlier. And would have still like to add Jalen Williams, but I'd rather have Nate Marshall. So it's all good. It's all good in the hood. Michael Scott style. All right, that's going to do it for us today. I don't know what tomorrow is going to bring because we've just been inundated on all of this. We're not going to do a mailbag, I don't think, until Friday. So anyway, thanks for watching. Thank you for listening. We will talk to you again soon. Peace.